Hello, everybody. I'm Bobby Munson, and I'm here for a very special interview with Cody Perez from Amerakin Overdose. Thank you so much for doing this interview, man. Really love having you here today for this.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm very excited to be a part of this, and thanks for sharing with your audience and our band name and whatnot. So
Yeah, actually, funny story is that when I saw that you had kind of gone ahead and followed me over on social media, I was kind of shocked. I was like, wait a second, this American Overdose. I said I started listening to them a few months ago. I came across you guys over on YouTube. I'm like, this has got to be a bot account or something. There's no way this dude's following me. So I look, I'm like, no, this is the legit guy here. So I was like, I had to reach out to you and start chatting and
oh
like
yeah,
looking more into your work too. Like I think we come from the same era of music and love for music and stuff like that. A lot of the groups that I think influenced you are the same groups I grew up on as well. So I wanted to kind of go start with your musical journey, like your earliest memories of music. What got you into the music scene in general?
well, the earliest I have was my dad. My dad was a radio DJ for a Spanish radio station here in Portland. So I was always around music with my dad. He'd put me on the radio. He'd have, and I'm like, 3 or 4 years old. Like he's having me go on the air and just, say hello and tell me to give a shout out to the pretty dolls, as he called them out there and whatnot. So I was always around music. He played a lot of Latin music. He played a lot of the Doors, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, that kind of stuff. So I was always surrounded with music, and he'd play acoustic guitar, and I'd pick up his guitar, and I just strung along and mess with his instruments. So I was always around it, and I was always like just drawn to it as soon as I heard you know music playing, regardless of what it was. I really found my own style of music when I was roughly about 9 or 10. My cousin introduced me to Metallica, Pantera, and Korn, all
Nice.
in the same time frame, like same day. Basically, I didn't have my own music I listened to. I just basically listened to anything that was on the radio. But my older cousin, was like, "Check this out." And when I heard Metallica, Korn, and Pantera, and the energy and the anger and the sound of just aggression, I was instantly like, "Whoa, okay, this is my style of music." And I was instantly hooked to that. I got into a little bit of the rap, like the '90s, mid '90s rap stuff as
Yeah.
well. But then I found my way back into, being obsessed with Korn once Follow the Leader came out, and then I heard Slipknot, and that was just like, whoa, like that is my thing. And eventually, that was just, new metal was my love for music, and I ended up grabbing my dad's acoustic guitar, picked it up, started learning guitar tabs, and the simple ones for like Nirvana, Metallica, the easier parts of Metallica, I should say.
Yeah.
And I would teach myself, how to read tabs, and I remember, when I was living with my grandma, I had a stereo system set up with my computer where I had a microphone that could plug into these huge ass speakers that I had that my dad had given me, and I would sing along to Korn, Marilyn Manson, Metallica, Pantera, all that stuff, and just teach myself to try to kind of sound like whoever I was listening to, and then over time, I developed my own sound from that. But I just remember memorizing lyrics and trying to just get my voice to do the screaming, do the singing, do the stuff that I was hearing. So that's my earliest memories of music and how I got into it.
Nice. Now, speaking of that era of music, that style of music and stuff like that from the new metal genre, who's that, or not who, but what one album, front to back, that one album that really truly inspired you as a musician going forward and stuff like that? That one can't do without album that really skyrocketed you into being what you wanted to be today?
A Slipknot, the first Slipknot album.
There's one. Now,
Once I heard
okay,
that, I was like it was a sound that I had not heard in anything else. And they were the first band I ever went to go see live in concert when I was 14 years old. They
nice.
were still doing clubs, so this was like in 2000. They came through Portland. They played a little 1,200 max capacity venue, and I once I saw it live, I was like, I want to do that someday. I want to put on a show. I want to, I want to have my voice be heard. I want my lyrics out there. I want people singing along to my music and moshing and going crazy for that. Um, and I would say Mudvayne's LD50 was a very close
Yeah.
like to that. They literally were neck to neck to me And they still kind of are as far as like the influences. Chad Gray and Corey Taylor just are phenomenal musicians that I have drawn so much influence from. Um, so I'd say those two albums were for sure the ones that changed me and made me determined to do music.
Nice. I gotta ask, when it comes to that first Slipknot album, though, did you have the original pressing before the a couple of tracks were removed from the original one and exchanged, or is the one after?
I had the one after that has me inside in it, but
Okay,
I
fair.
downloaded Purity because my friends had the original one, and I was jealous, and I was like, and this was back in like Napster days, so I'm like,
Yeah.
I sat there for like a few hours waiting for Purity to download, but yeah, dude, that album was just a game changer for sure. It was like something that just I had never heard. It was so raw, and even now when you listen to it, I love that sound that it doesn't sound overproduced or polished or anything like that. It's just you can feel the intensity and you can just hear the rawness in that. I love that.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Absolutely love it. And of course, one of my favorite acts to go see live. Glad to hear that, that's the same for you. Want to know, like, when it comes to touring, you've done a lot of touring, opening for bands, stuff like that. What is a good road story? What is one memorable story you've had from the road so far that you want to share?
Well, there's lots of different crazy stories. I always try to reflect not on like years and years prior. I always try to think of like most recently. So I'll think about what like last year. Playing Rockfest was pretty awesome with my bandmates. We got to play Rockfest out in Cadott, Wisconsin, and some of the headliners were like Shinedown and uh, Jelly Roll was on there. Killswitch Engage, Chevelle, Seven Dust, a lot of those great bands were on that rock fest. For me, it was really awesome just getting on stage at it was like 12:30, dude, and Shinedown had already got done playing. They played the main stage. We played a side stage, and so this the main event was already done, but they had us play the after party,
Yeah.
and just seeing a sea of people come over to catch what we were doing, and then the people that were already there waiting for us, like that knew that we were playing, um, and singing along and going with us for, up until 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning. That was just it was amazing. I thought that people would be tired. You're out in the sun all day and rocking out, but we had an awesome crowd of people that were singing along. The energy was there. I thought we were gonna not really have anybody there, and I thought that we would have been, just no energy or whatnot just from being tired from being out. But as soon as the intro hit for our music, it was on, and that to me is a one of my favorite things. We had some crazy shit happen to us when we were on that road for that run. I lost my mask.
Oh
My
no.
mask got thrown in the trash by I suspect one of my band members on accident. Um, it was put in a plastic bag after one of our shows, and when we stayed at the hotel, we stayed at this hotel in Iowa. The next morning, we were cleaning things out of the van because the van was a mess, and my mask, I assume, was in that plastic bag that got thrown away with the garbage. So that I almost had a meltdown like when that happened because I had it was a custom made mask. The guy that made it also did one of Corey Taylor's masks. He did the one for point five, the Gray chapter. He
Yeah.
made one of those versions of the mask for Corey. So, dude was an amazing mask maker. He hooked me up, because he got me a good deal with making me the custom mask and what have you. And so that was a one of a kind. Never ended up finding it. So um, that was a crazy story that happened recently, I would say, on the road.
And
So we got a good
and
and
you
a bad.
lost and you lost it in Iowa of all things too. Like that
In Iowa.
couldn't
So
be
it's
any
in a
more coincidental, right?
coincidental. It's somewhere in I'm assuming it's somewhere in some like landfill trash area. The crazy thing is, though, that we're on our way. Actually, that happened on our way to play Milwaukee Metal Fest. Jamie Josta from Hatebreed's festival that he has.
Yeah.
Um, so that happened on the way there, and so I made a post online stating that I lost my mask. Who could help me get a new one because that mask maker was not available. He was working with Maynard and the guys from Tool making some stuff for them, and I just so happened to get a person tagged on there that is actually working now with a new guy that's working with Slipknot recently and working with Mudvayne doing like makeup and masks and whatnot for them. And he happened to be only 20 minutes north of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where we were heading over to play the festival. It's like, yeah, come check it out. If you're in the area, you can come check out the studio that I have, and give me some ideas of what you're looking to do, and I'll make you a mask. We went out there, and I walked in, and I instantly was like, holy shit, because like here's the mask that Greg from Mudvayne, the guitar player, he now wears a head cast type of thing on his head with the
Yeah.
spikes and whatnot. His head was right there. I saw a bunch of Slipknot masks, replicas that he had made, one that he was making for Sid Wilson. Just I was just like, whoa, like what the hell? Like, so my new mask that I have right now is was made by the new guy that's working stuff for Slipknot. So it
Awesome.
was a good story in the end. I would have never met him, and I never would have gotten to go down there and see the studio and all that if it wouldn't have been for the mask being lost and whatnot. So one bad thing turned into a good thing, and so
That's right. Yeah, there's always a silver lining somewhere, which is fantastic.
definitely.
Let's talk a little bit more about American Overdose itself. Tell us a little bit about the band. So far, 3 album releases and working towards some new music here in 2025. So whatever you can kind of educate us on where the band started and where it's going today.
So yeah, I started the band back in 2009. I had been in and out of local bands. I got tired of, not finding people that were as committed as I was or did not have the same vision as I had for the style of music that I wanted to do and the visual aspect of it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to find a producer to work with. And I found this guy by the name of Human. He had a studio, and I came with him with a bunch of different ideas of different sounds I wanted to go with, and he helped me put together an album's worth of music, produced it, and right after I had about enough songs, I started looking for live members, and I remembered that my brother, the other vocalist, he could scream, and he had a lot of the same musical influences. He'd never been in a band before, and he had been in some trouble, so I wanted to get him kind of away from the crap that he was getting involved in and put music in his life. And so I'm like, hey, I'd love to have another vocalist on this. I think it'd be awesome for the live show. I think you have, a voice that would definitely work with what I'm doing. And, we put an ad out on Craigslist, and I believe I was on MySpace that Brick found me, and my drummer. He reached out to us, and we tried him out. We loved what he had going on, and the guitar player that we had at the time, he ended up leaving. He wasn't originally the guitar player of the band, but he was the original guitar player that I found for live purposes, and he wrote a few of the tunes that we had on the album, a couple of songs. And so, after that didn't work out, we found another guitar player and another bass player. And over time, we were playing anywhere from, you know, 5 to up to 7 times a week. I'm not kidding you. We'd be driving up and down the West Coast, just going to California, going to Washington, playing anywhere we could in Oregon, just to get the name out. And we would hand out a bunch of flyers and sampler discs of our sound and pretty much annoy the hell out of people on MySpace and in person with promoting our band. Um, over the years, we've had different lineup changes, but it's been consistently Brick, the drummer, myself, and my brother, the other vocalist, Pete. Um, and so, we've done touring. We've played with all the bands you can think of, regionally, and then we did a tour with Mushroom Head that was a national tour. Then we've done our own touring multiple times. Played a lot of festivals like Warped Tour. We played Rockfest twice now. Played the Gathering of the Juggalos. Played Milwaukee Metal Fest this last year again. Um, so it's been something that we've just put a lot of work and time into. We put our second album in 2016, where we had the sound developed from the original idea. It was still American Overdose, but the sound had developed, and then we took kind of a hiatus after 2018, and then of course COVID happened. We were working on a new album, didn't work out like I wanted it to, and so we had to start from scratch. And we started working with a new producer by the name of Nicholas. He's out in the UK. So our current producer is we file share and send files back and forth, but he's out in the middle of the war that's been going on out there with Russia and what have you.
Yeah.
So that's been a little bit crazy. And most recently, we started working with Johnny Santos, singer of Spine Shank Silent Civilian. So he's been producing our new music that we're going to be releasing here in 2025, starting with our first single of the year slash cover. I won't say what song it is, but it's a 90s pop song, a very popular 90s pop song that we turned into American Overdose style. And we shot a badass video for it. And we're hoping for a March release for that. So stay tuned for that. But our plan is this year we're going to continuously release new music, new videos every 6 to 8 weeks. We
Awesome.
have plenty of material that we've been sitting on, and I'm very excited for it because it's still American Overdose, but it's like us with just the heaviness turned up, the vlogness turned up as well. Um, and just Johnny brings a different sound to us. That I've been a huge fan of Spine Shank since I was a little kid. A huge fan of Johnny as a singer. He's one of my top five favorite singers, and I've learned so much from him. So it's been awesome for him to be able to pull out what I had never been. I had never been had pulled out of me from working with previous producers and whatnot, and find that sound that's been hidden in there. And I think people are going to be really shocked when they start hearing some of the stuff. So that's kind of a little bit of the history of American Overdose there.
That's fantastic, and really excited to hear that new stuff. Also, big fan of Johnny and of Spine Shank. I grew up listening to them as well too, and I feel like they're one of the underrated bands of the '90s that
Definitely.
kind of hit that scene. It's the Height of Callousness is probably one of the best new metal albums that ever hit that scene, and gets overlooked a lot when people are talking about the music from that era.
Of all time, dude, that one. And I also think Self-Destructive Pattern was a
Oh,
really, really good album. Like that album should have gotten way more attention than it did. Like it was full of songs that just were bangers. They all could have easily been singles on their own.
oh, for sure. Yeah. No, they were highly underrated and more people should be checking them out. Now, you said you've opened for you name it, who's who when it comes to bands so far. Is there anybody that you haven't opened for? And we'll say festivals excluding, like an actual opening show with just you and them or a couple of bands who you haven't opened for that you'd really love that opportunity.
Oh, definitely. So for sure, Slipknot,
Yeah.
Slipknot and Mudvayne, Rammstein, Marilyn Manson, Bad Omens is one of my favorite newer bands.
Oh, they're so good.
Currents, Bad Omens would be great. Falling in Reverse, I'm a big fan of Ronnie Radke, even though a lot of people hate him. I don't give a fuck. I love the fact that people hate him. To me, it makes it more special when people don't like something, and I'm in tune with it and I'm loving it. So those would be some of the artists that I would name. Papa Roach, I'm a huge influence. They're a huge influence on me. I would love to someday be able to play a show with them. I draw a lot of influence from them. One of the things that I love most about Papa Roach is they have survived from that new metal era, and you can hear them evolve their sound,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they've always stayed relevant. They're killing it. I love that they're a band that could play. They can go play with some pop bands. They could play with some heavy metal bands. They could play with some punk bands. They could play all over the board. They could play at a rap show. I mean, they did. They toured with Eminem, and they were on the Anger Management tour, I believe, and they were on previously on Warped Tour. And so they're one of those bands that can genre bend so much, and they're just so unique. And that's what I want American Overdose to be. Is I want us to be able to do all of it.
Fantastic. Now, this question here, I want to know outside of metal, because as people who like rock, like metal, we kind of expand our musical tastes collectively into other genres. Who are some of your favorite artists outside the world of rock and metal that inspire you?
Well, I mean, I mentioned Eminem. Eminem's a killer artist. I grew up listening to him from the earlier days when he first came out. That would be definitely one. I wouldn't say there's just one certain type of artist, but I would say like I like radio pop hits. So like stuff that's on pop radio from the 90s and early 2000s, a lot of that stuff I draw influence from, just from like the beat, or it could be just their rhythms of how they do their flows. I do enjoy country, even though some people will be like, what the hell? Like Garth Brooks, I think is great.
Yeah.
And Someone was really shocked the other day when I said that I liked the song Neon Moon. What's that song called? The Neon Moon song? The fucking who sings it? It's an older song. But people are like, it's a country song, and people are like, what? I'm like, yeah, I like it all. I don't care what, if it's good, it's good. And I don't, when people say, oh, your guilty pleasures, I don't have any guilty pleasures. I like anything and everything. Usually what's on is rock or metal. But sometimes I'll just be clicking on my Apple Music, and I'm just blasting anything and everything in between.
Yeah, and I believe the country band you're looking for is Brooks and Dunn
Brooks and Dunn, yes,
on that one there. So yeah, no, again, like I say this because again, everybody I've ever run into in my path that likes rock and metal, it's our go-to, it's our favorite thing to turn on. But we don't necessarily always judge or criticize other genres of music. We're a little bit more open to it, and we'll listen to it. Again, I don't have guilty pleasures either. And a lot of the stuff you're talking about, I listen to classical music. I'll listen to all that kind of stuff because you never know where inspiration could be drawn from musically, or where you might be inspired to take something to another level with your own work and stuff like that. And that's why I asked that question, because I kind of figured you're the kind of guy grew up in that scene. So it had to be some artists that you were fans of outside of the heavy metal rock genre.
Oh, definitely, man. Especially with with, like I said, my parents having music around me all the time. I would hear everything, like literally everything. And then I worked at a bar, so when I was bartending, I had to play a lot of different styles of music, and sometimes it'd be some of the same songs over and over, and I had to learn to just be like, okay, either filter it out or find something about it that you like, that you can, that you can just get over it. So for me, there's really not a bad genre of music. It's you just there's bad artists, I think, in my opinion, like that I don't care for, or I don't like. But as far as genres of music, I think you can find something in any style of music and use it as influence. And music to me sets it's kind of like a time machine. It also sets a mood. Like I can hear a song that I haven't heard in 15 years, but once I hear it, it'll take me back to where I was 15 years ago at a moment in time. It could be, from hanging out with friends, going on a cruise, or a bad breakup or something. It's just crazy how music can do that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It takes you on a journey, so to speak. And that's what I went on a journey, listened to your guys' music, went through the albums, became a fan, and happy to have done this interview with you here. Hoping that this can help in any way to get the word of Amerakin Overdose. But also, I know you have your own website too. You do a little bit of music on the side outside of Amerakin Overdose too. Do you mention that a little bit as well?
Yeah, I started a side project during COVID. I was just the band, like I said, that was we were going through a hiatus, kind of just taking a break, and I started writing my own stuff. That was not, it wouldn't fit American Overdose necessarily, and that's actually how I found a producer, Nicholas, that's currently working with American Overdoses. I was on the hunt for finding something different outside the United States. I was actually technically outside of Oregon, and I was looking for outside of LA. I wanted to find something somewhere else, and I just stumbled across him, and I'm like, whoa, this guy's like in another country. Like, let me see what he can do. And I sent him some of the stuff that I was putting together, and he picked one of the songs, and he's like, here, I can do this song for you, and I'll show you an example of what my work sounds like when I polish something up. And I fell in love with what he did, and so we did a couple other songs, and I put them out. But once I realized that American Overdose needed to come back, because so many people had already put their faith in us, I'm like, all right, I need to put that on the back burner and make American Overdose a priority again. And I decided to give him a shot for American Overdose and see what he could do with that sound. And he didn't let us down. Obviously, he's definitely got the gist of what our sound and our tone is, and is taking us up, another notch in the developing of our sound.
Awesome. Well, I mean, that's pretty much all I got for questions here today. If there's any last things you'd like to say to our audience here before we go, and also let them know where they can find you, plug American Overdose and your personal socials. Where can people find you, reach out to you, and what you got coming up?
Yeah, so keep on the lookout for us to release our next single. It's going to happen in March. We have a video for it. We're actually shooting another video this coming weekend on Saturday for another single that we'll release sometime in May. But that single that I'm talking about, the pop cover song, that'll be out in March. So be on the lookout for that. You can find us on anything. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, we're on X/Twitter. I don't know what else there is out there, but then our website, AmericanOverdoseBand.com. Spelling of our name is AMERAKIN, and then overdose.com. We have a link tree. We're pretty much, you can find us very easily. You Google us and spell the name correctly. Obviously, spell it like we spell it, and you'll find us on there. I don't know if we have any tours coming up this year. We get that question asked all the time, but I'm hoping. We'll see if something comes along the way that we can't refuse. We'll do it. If not, we're for sure doing some regional shows. If you're near, and if you're in Oregon or somewhere close and you want to see us, we are playing on the 22nd of February at this place called the 520 520 spot or something like that venue. It's in Albany, Oregon. You can find the flyer for it on all of our socials. We've been posting it, but that's the next show that we have lined up. And other than that, we just plan on sticking around regionally at least to hit the local states: Washington, Idaho, Nevada, Oregon, maybe California. We'll see this summer. But yeah, thanks for having me, man. You're originally a wrestling. Are you usually a wrestling podcast?
So the whole podcast itself is a bit of a pop culture podcast. I'm trying to branch out more into the music and movie side of things, but we did initially start with a lot of pro wrestling stuff. I myself am a wrestling commentator, videographer, and I help run a local promotion here in Saskatoon as well too. And then we do podcasting and doing reviews of pro wrestling and stuff like that all the time. But I take it you're a fan of wrestling?
Dude, I'm not a fan of current wrestling. Like, I'm a huge nerd and fan of anything from the 80s up until like 2000, 2001. My era was, the 90s of wrestling. I absolutely loved the Attitude Era, the New Generation era. Shawn Michaels is my main dude that I absolutely love, and Undertaker, those are my guys, but huge fan of The Rock, obviously Stone Cold Steve Austin, Degeneration X, that kind of stuff. So I geek out, and I'm always, always, always playing for background noise. I always got something going on, whether it's like old school wrestling matches or documentaries or the dark side of wrestling or that kind of stuff. Or, even when I'm listening to podcasts to go to sleep and whatnot, I will play something that has to do with something along the lines of WWF is how I recognize it still. But yeah, I'm a wrestling nerd for that era.
Perfect.
Bret
Sounds
Hart
good.
too. Bret Hart, I know you being Canadian, you're probably familiar with him.
Yeah, very, very much so. But yeah, we'll chat a little bit more about that. We're going to end the show right there. But thank you everybody for tuning in. Go check out American Overdose, buy some merch, buy the albums, and wait for that new single to drop in March. Thank you, Cody, for being here today. Appreciate it, man. And we'll talk to you again soon. Rock on.
Thanks a lot, brother.